And welcome back to the Full Advisor Coaching Podcast with your host, Kristin Herod. Kristin, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Bill. I had someone ask me, who the heck is Bill? Bill is my on-air thought partner. I don't like to show up, and this is very clear to today, I don't like to show up and be all by myself.
Well,
and Bill, you are my former journalist. We're going to put all this in on the website. Award-winning journalist. I will let you toot your own horn, but I'm happy to have someone to have a conversation with. I think it's more interesting and, frankly, just a lot more fun for me.
Well, number one, first, I am thrilled to be here with you. I have a lot of fun doing this, and I am honored to be an on-air thought partner with you. Although people listening should know they should give way more weight to your thoughts than to mine.
You help facilitate the conversation, which I really, really appreciate.
Well, that's great because I love being a part of this podcast. And I really like being a part of this particular one today, because today you're going to be talking about a topic that most people think has nothing to do with finance or financial advisors or financial coaching or anything like that. Today, you're talking about loneliness. And I want to know how you got there, and I really want to pick your brains about why it's so important to you.
Yeah, this is something that I've felt quite deeply. And it's interesting. I just got back from an in-person retreat. It was just what I needed. It was 11 women, 3 days of just face-to-face time, human connection, shared meals at the same table, discussions, fresh air, very comfortable and casual. And we had focus, and I'll get into that. But I came back just feeling like energized and very attuned to how lonely it is to work behind the camera, on your own, being part of a team remotely, right? And connecting through LinkedIn and sending emails, right? And so I know it. I went on this retreat because I'd been feeling very lonely, very isolated, even though I'm part of many teams in the industry. It's still ultimately, I'm not at an office. I'm not running into humans shaking hands unless I'm at a conference, right? So, and I know that is not just me, right?
No.
It's across the board. Like it's a lot of things happening. And so I know we usually talk about marketing and business development and productivity and all those things, but I think fundamentally, especially if you're leading a firm, loneliness shows up in a lot of ways, and you have to be aware of your employees and how you can help them and form those connections. So I'm hoping we can get through some of these tougher topics today, but I think it'll be valuable. Hey there, it's Kristin. Quick break. If you're enjoying the show and you want more, head on over to fulladvisorcoaching.com/resources. You can download the toolkits that I have there and join the free insider community. You'll be the first to hear about new trainings, fresh podcast episodes, and I share with you real-world strategies that I see working for advisors right now. That's fulladvisorcoaching.com/resources. Go sign up. It's completely free. And now, back to the show.
No, I think it's fantastic because I think that's the brutal irony of the world we're living in now, because socially we are more connected than ever. You and I both active on LinkedIn, active on various social media programs, interact with people over the internet all of the time. And yet I have noticed, independently of you sending me this episode topic, boy, a lot of people seem lonely. A lot of us feel not disconnected because we're all connected.
Yes, yeah.
We're all connected, but it is lonely, and I'm relieved and refreshed by the fact you want to talk about it, because I think you're right. I share your belief. I think this affects
Yeah.
a whole lot of people. So, I mean,
Yeah.
where do you want to go with this? How do you want to begin the exploration?
Let me talk a little bit about this retreat, because it was
Okay.
very interesting, because it kind of revealed a few things, right? So there were 11 firm owners, and it was really focused on women in financial advice, who, established firm owners in the field, who are looking at how to take the profession forward and get more women involved and excited, and really championing women in the profession, because we still don't have enough women in the financial planning profession. And it was organized by a woman named Danica Waddell, who's out of Seattle.
Okay.
And it was intentionally small, like these 11 people. And we had the whole inn up in Portland on this beautiful farm, and a lot of living room kind of format where you could sit in a circle by the fire,
Right.
and have conversation. And so, yes, there was a structure, and she had, exercises, and we engaged in different conversation topics. And so there was an arc to the retreat. But the exciting thing was no one was on the screens. No one was on phones, right? And you actually were like, having face-to-face actual conversations. Right. You'd shake hands, give hugs, touch, say hello, obviously, just very friendly manner. And it was really, obviously we had the content, but what I really appreciated and enjoyed was just running into someone in the hall and chit-chatting, or after we were done and we're going over to get a snack, and you're like, just having a conversation on the side.
Yeah.
People feeling comfortable and saying things that they probably wouldn't say on a Zoom call, or they, they're like open and honest and sharing. And it was really interesting. What I found interesting in the dialogue was even people who were there, all of them running companies, I think almost everyone, if not everyone, having a remote or a hybrid situation. Talked about just having feeling that lack of colleagues, like having colleagues there with you, even if you have team members, and then feeling interesting. I thought this was interesting. Feeling more hesitant about reaching out to people, like you're somehow invading the privacy of the other person, whether personally or professionally. And I'll say I feel that sometimes too. And even the people who are admittedly extroverts sitting in that room after working alone and being over Zoom for so long, admitted being stuck like in the bubble, and like having adapted to fit there, still feeling like, I used to be able to reach out really well, and now I'm having trouble. And I'm like, I could see how that happens. So when we coming together and having this time together, you got to see, okay, I'm not alone.
Right.
I feel loneliness, and others do too. And when you kind of feel like if you're running a firm, and everyone there was running a firm, most people were financial advisors running financial advisory firms or holding leadership positions. 2 of us were in the service provider seat. But again, women-owned firms, we were there. It felt good to have other people who were around us. And then it felt like you're like, it also gets lonely when you're the leader and setting the example, and you're kind of like handling the problems of, is there enough business, too much business? Do we need to add a team member, not add a team member? Who gets compensated? What's the career track? All of the various things that come with being the person in charge. So a lot of pressure and isolation that comes up from that as well. So what was interesting, and so thankful, because it was a space to be like, okay, I can connect with humans. This is great. And it was nice to have the intimacy of a small group. But if I needed that connection so badly, how many other leaders are out there who aren't talking about it, who are feeling just a little bit deflated, a little bit de-energized, right? Not quite at the top of their game that they may feel, and maybe they can't name it as isolation or loneliness, but I imagine there's probably some elements in there. So,
well, yeah, we've all heard the phrase "it's lonely at the top," as it were. So that's not
true.
that's not a revelation. What I find
Yeah.
interesting in what I was going to ask you if your feelings were shared by other people at the retreat, and it sounds like clearly what you all discovered was you
Every
are
single
not
one.
alone. Yeah.
Yeah. Every single person in some form or fashion absolutely was like, I need connection. I need community. I need people reaching out to me, and I want to reach out. And I mean, I took a hike with one of the women during a break. We took a hike on the property. Beautiful, beautiful landscape there.
Yeah.
And she lives like 2 hills over here in San Francisco, as we say. We have 7
that's
hills.
funny. Yeah.
She's about 2 hills over.
Right.
And so it was great because afterward she sent me a note and she said, we made plans to meet up here, but she's like, reach out anytime you need human connection and let's meet up and have a walking meeting. Let's meet together in person, right?
Yeah.
And have our conversation, which was like, yes, that's what we need more of. So we'll get into all of that, but and we all know, and I don't want to dwell on pandemic here, but it kind of kicked off the whole Zoom thing and making that normalized.
Yeah.
We were forced into it, right? And I'm not going to complain because I can run my business really well by having this remote situation. I get to see my family on the East Coast regularly through video. I find the technology phenomenal and amazing and life-changing in that way.
Yeah.
But for doing business too. But it really surprised me / didn't surprise me when the U.S. Surgeon General declared loneliness and social isolation a public health epidemic. I think it was last year they issued a report on that. It might have been 24. And just the effects, the negative effects that loneliness can have, and how it's, everything's always compared to smoking because we get that. But
That's true.
Whether that's true or not, like having the effect of smoking X number of cigarettes a day or not, but it causes heart disease and stroke and cognitive decline and depression and premature death. All of these things that I even know that advisors talk to their clients about when they go into retirement, right? Like, how are you going to be socially engaged? How do you keep yourself active and connected to a community? I did some research to try to really understand this better before coming to this episode. And Cigna and Evernorth did a research study in 2025. 57% of Americans report feeling lonely, and among workers, 52% feel lonely.
Wow.
So it's the majority. More people feel lonely than not.
Yeah.
Which you're like,
wow.
oh.
That is so crazy. It's funny. When I began work, it was in a completely different era, and in my workplace was active. It was engaged.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I mentioned this to you right before we went on the air with this. I don't know how people deal in a workplace environment now where they're not connected, where they're not in the same room with people, where they're not interacting with each other. It's a completely different dynamic. So there's the health side of this, and there is the business side of this whole issue.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's the business side. And I think, we can talk about kind of how leaders can help that. And I heard some great ideas because some of the women at this retreat were giving some great ideas on how they help facilitate connection. And I do see it with clients. And I do think that some of your strong leaders out there are recognizing this and trying to move away from it. I mean, ultimately, coming out of the pandemic, I think we all, like you said, we're connected, but
we're not.
But we're not,
and we've normalized it. We're like, oh yeah, well that's just the way it is. It's like, hello.
That's just the way it is. Or I'll just do a quick text instead of calling and having a conversation because I don't want to bother them. I don't want to get in their business. I don't want to. And it's like, wow, okay. And you would think in a relationship-driven industry like financial advice,
yes,
we would be better at it. But I think it is actually getting worse too. And again, may not be unique to our industry, but we are based on having relationships and remote work. I mean, the good news is we were all able to continue during the pandemic because we can deliver financial advice remotely. It's enabling. It's really helpful. The just general fatigue of having Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting, which I read a lot about Zoom fatigue. Ultimately there was kind of it was big in 2021, a lot of talk around that because it was so new to people. But ultimately it comes down to when you and I are talking and looking on the screen like this, Bill, we're not used to having to hold our attention to a person's face for an hour at a time.
Oh man, that's
like
so
in a
true.
meeting, if
That's
you're in a
completely
room,
true. Yeah.
in a meeting, you're going to look down, look around the room, maybe get up and get a glass of water, come back down. But in Zoom, your brain has to keep focusing on the same person, like the face, nonstop. And we're not used to looking at ourselves, right? And then the cognitive load of like, now I have to look at myself. I mean, yes, you could hide your camera, put yourself off to the side or move the people, but ultimately you're wearing down your brain because you're like, I'm evaluating myself, wondering what people think. I'm looking at this person. I have to hold eye contact way longer than I ever would in person. And then I also was reading like hand gestures. It's hard to get cues because all the cues are in a tiny box.
Right.
And so we don't know. And so we're having to try to your brain, whether you realize it or not, is trying to solve these problems and understand what are the cues, what are the things I need to tap into. I thought it was fascinating.
And to that point, this is why this whole remote work screen thing was so devastating to entertainers, because entertainers, when they perform live, are doing all of those things. They're reading a room. They're getting a sense of people. Is this working? Is this not working? Are they listening to me? Have I lost them? And I realize sounds like it's kind of a stray, but it's not. Because financial advising is not entertaining, but you're still talking to people, and you're used to talking to people and getting cues, just exactly like what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was reading a lot, and I was like, all right, point taken, brain working very, very hard. What do we do? How do we mix it up? And I think, again, the next generation of advisors too, they want to have flexibility. They value flexibility and efficiency. And then when you look at, working parents, I can tell you all the great reasons why hybrid working is great.
Yeah.
Why, so I don't want to be like, oh my gosh, why did we ever do this? I do miss, and it gives a wider pool of employees, which is important because in our industry, we need more qualified people, and you can't get them always in your geographical area.
Right,
So you get to pull from all over, which is exciting, and you can expand your reach and all that. But you don't have those hallway conversations, right? The lunch that's about like we're sitting down and having a conversation over lunch, or just that vibe of a person next to you that you have a human. And we all know that feeling.
Yes.
It's not, it's rough. So, we're getting tired. We're doing that. So what can we do, right? And I think there's an added thing. I don't mean to get on a tangent, but I do feel like firm leaders have that extra layer of.
Oh no, that's not a tangent from where I sit, because I've been a leader in organizations, and there is really and truly there is a natural sense of I am separate from the room. I am different. I know you feel this as well because you lead various organizations and teams. There already is that sense anyway. And I think the work environment we're in now probably accelerates it and makes it worse. And I suspect, and I don't know this because I haven't had a lot of conversations with leaders currently, but I suspect that they don't know what to do now.
Yeah. We know, as you said, I think tried and true, it's lonely at the top. So true. I forgot about that, but people always say that. But now it's like makes a lot of sense. And having these conversations, I'm like, oh, okay. And so what can we do about it? I think before we get into that, I do want to talk about what we can do about it. But many people follow Michael Kitces in this industry, of course. We were named a top 5 practice management podcast from Michael Kitces. So, hey, we're excited over here.
Good,
we're excited over here at Full Advisor Coaching Podcast. But he does this well-being study, advisor well-being study. He does a couple different studies. He does one on, the research team does one on advisor well-being. The last one was in 2025. And they looked at 1,500 members of advisory teams. And again, same themes coming out. One of the strongest drivers of advisor well-being was what they called the right workplace. I put that in air quotes. And that means the specific team you're working with and the physical environment, not just what you're paid, not the technology, but what is the human context there. And I thought that was really interesting. And one of the findings that was really powerful was that advisors who are sacrificing relationships, trying to continuously grow, ultimately have lower well-being. So they were talking about, while business goals matter, they don't matter as much as the ability to support relationship-centered goals, connecting with clients, connecting with team members, and connecting with other people in your life. So it was an interesting trade-off, because usually you're like, growth, get ahead, next level, let me get there. But it's like, if they have to do that at the expense of building relationships with team, clients, and their people in their personal life, it's not worth it. I thought that was really, I mean, it just reinforces again how important it is for leadership to know that people want to feel connected. They care about relationships. We're in a relationship business. We need to acknowledge and see that the idea that, you know, even if you're operating in a room with other people, are you connecting? Do you feel, do they feel lonely? Do they feel like they're accepted? They're part of the team, that they're valued? Is it part of the culture of the firm? Because it really makes a big difference in keeping someone in a firm, keeping someone working at their best, keeping them in the seat, retaining them. And I've seen it when it's worked really well. When I go on, I get to, my favorite thing is going on site to visit a client, because then I get to participate in the culture and the energy and the excitement. And everyone I work with has a hybrid situation right now. So I'm not saying everyone's there every day, but when they go, oh yeah, come on Wednesday, everyone's in the office on Wednesday, and just the camaraderie and excitement and sharing and love that people have for each other in that room is like unbelievable. So that kind of gets us to, what can you do as a leader to help facilitate these connections, help people feel like they matter, they mean, they make a difference, they're part of the team. I mean, getting people together in person makes all of the difference. I actually have it in my contract with my fractional CMO clients that I have to have an on-site visit with everyone with the leadership team within the first 4 to 6 months of the engagement. And then at least an annual visit after, even though that's not enough, but it's something, because it matters to me. I don't like to start a relationship without having met the humans in person. And I realize feasibly it can't happen right away, but I make sure that I go there, because I think it gives you a context that you can't get without being in person. So sorry, I got a little soapbox.
No. But I think that's a great soapbox. I think it's a great soapbox. Because you got to, I mean, it comes down to, again, intentional design. I was feeling like, wow, I feel on the periphery. I need to understand you, understand the culture. There's something I get when I walk around an office and talk to people in it and see and witness with my own eyes and watch them interact with clients that you don't get when you're part of one of the squares on the Zoom call, right? So it's about intentional design, right? So how do you do that? How does a leader or firm do that?
Well, good question. I think we're all learning. What I've seen work well is when you are fully remote, and there are plenty of fully remote firms, a couple different ways. I have ones that we have a quarterly in-person gathering where the firm pays for all of the people to come in.
Okay.
Like all of the advisors to come in. I can't speak to the remote. I would think you'd want everyone, but you bring the team in. Yeah. And then you have like a week, a couple days of like social activities, in-person meetings, all of the things to build those connections so that you can then go back into the world and then come back in the next quarter and be like, okay, let's and so building that into the budget, building that into the way of being and saying this is an important investment in the health and wellness of our employees and of our company. I think that's really important. Obviously, the hybrid idea is we have certain days that everyone's in the office. That comes well. But then also as a firm leader, when you start to feel, again, isolated, lonely at the top, are you finding peer groups? Like I was able to go on this retreat, and the reason, I called up the woman who organized it, and I said, I know this appears to be more for financial advisors. I'm in the industry. I want to connect. I have, contribution. And she was like, absolutely, come along. And it felt so good to be in the room with other people who were facing the same thing. Like, so find those peer groups, the mastermind groups. There's a lot of local things like Vistage or Entrepreneurs Organization, EO, industry communities, your local FPA, anything where you can meet in person with people. Try to get something on the calendar for that. And even if not, get in these find groups of people that you can be honest with that are at your level. I know in our industry, the good thing is a lot of people do make mastermind groups and they do make study groups that they check in with. And so you can articulate your loneliness, that feeling, and find someone to have that in there. I think it's also important that you protect this in-person time in your calendar, even if it's in-person time like with friends or family where it's like you're consistently getting out in the world. And then planning times to go to conferences. Conferences are a great way to get reinvigoration, to be surrounded by people. Even if you're an introvert, there's ways to go there and then get a lot out of just being around humans, right? And tapping in there. Again, I told you about the woman I met here who was like, let's just get together and take a walk and talk about what's on our mind, and, find one or two people that who you can get together, reach out. I mean, there's this idea about owning the ask. I think John Acuff writes about that. He's an author that I've mentioned before. It's like, yes, we seem to have made it like everyone has to live in their private world, but own the ask, reach out, put something out there. I mean, people want to be invited and included, right? And so I think that's really important. And then notice your own patterns too. I noticed this a while back. For myself, I forget where I had read about it, but just how it's important to have actual out loud conversations with people in person.
Yes.
And so one of the
as
women
opposed to those pretend people.
Yeah, no, I know. But like, do you end your day and go, wow, I didn't have a single conversation with a human that wasn't either on Zoom or on the phone? Did I go out in the world and say hello to the clerk at the grocery store? Did I have a little interaction with her? Did I say thank you to the barista when I picked up my coffee that I ordered mobile so I could walk in, pick it up, and leave without talking to a soul? But can I stop for a second, make eye contact, and say thank you? All of these things can make a huge difference. Wait.
You're suggesting that you have conversations with people that are not transactional. Is that what you're doing here? Like you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of are.
Yeah, right.
I'm like mostly just acknowledging that you are a human and you have done something for me, and I'm appreciating it.
Yes.
Oh, you put my drink from there
idea.
to there,
like that
and
idea.
put a little sticker on it.
Yeah.
I love challenging myself on this. I'll be like checking out at Trader Joe's and be like, hey, how's your day going? Or, almost time to get, go home, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or even the banal, how about this weather? Oh my gosh. Yeah, anything just to get a conversation. And so we did challenge this woman because she works from home and she has young kids, but she's also like, I'm going to challenge myself to go out and speak to 3 people, to track and make sure I've spoken
Yeah.
out loud to 3 people. Because otherwise you live in your head, right? And you're like,
You do, yes.
I think it's also really important to, for the firm and for your team to allow time for these informal catch-ups. And I know people don't want to waste meeting time with this, and they're like, we got to be efficient, we got to do this. But I think it's the EOS model that I talk about a lot, and a couple of my clients run on that. The first thing you start with is something personal or professional that you want to share. It's like 1 minute each. You know, I might be like, oh, still waiting for those college decisions to come in for my daughter. Someone else will be like, oh, yeah, me too. Someone else will be like, we got an Airbnb up in this new park by the lake. It was really cool. Or I tried this new restaurant. Or my mom's in the hospital. Anything that was just like a few minutes just to be like, hi, human. I'm a human too.
Hi there.
Nice to see you. I mean, Bill, you and I do that. We have to be careful because we don't always get to recording until like 10, 15 minutes.
That's true.
And then we're like, shoot, we're up against the clock now. But so I mean, it's contained. You want to contain because you want to be respectful of people's time. But
Absolutely.
Again, can you host a lunch where everyone's on the day when everyone's in the office, and not make it be a working lunch or we have to go through these exercises, but let's just hang out and chat for 30 minutes, get to know everyone better. And then let's reevaluate video calls. I actually had the extreme joy of having a consultation call with a gentleman. He was in New York and we were chatting and my internet went down. And I was like, we were like 10 minutes in and I was like, we were on a roll. I was suddenly like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I have to try to reconnect. And then all of a sudden I'm like, or I need to pick up my phone and telephone him.
Telephone the guy. Oh, no.
I'm going to call him. I think his number's in his foot. And he picked up. We chatted for an hour. And it was a delight. I wasn't looking at the screen. I wasn't going, should I be checking my notes? I wasn't trying to
yes.
Is he paying attention or not paying attention? I just listened. And I was like, I remember doing business this way a long time ago. And I don't want to be like back in my day because I love the fact that, Bill, you and I have never met in person. Hopefully one day we will. That is always super exciting.
Yes.
But the fact that we have gotten to know each other because of technology and that availability, hands down, phenomenal. But
it is.
Can you take a call that's just on the phone sometimes? It lets your brain rest. Like if we learned about that Zoom fatigue, it gives your brain a chance to relax and you can just focus on the conversation. So I think that's something we can all start to try to build in. Do we have to have everyone let people turn their cameras off if they want? If they're just like, you know what, sometimes, especially a team meeting, like, do we need to have the cameras on? Not all the time, Make sure you're taking breaks in between your calls. I've been reading, I'm no expert, but I've been reading on this too. Like they're just like, get up, move around. The problem also being in the little box is you don't move because you have to stay in the box. So you don't move around.
True. True.
So that's obviously very important. And take a look at how can you engage the people on the team? How can you understand what's meaningful to them and help set the environment for them to be able to contribute in a meaningful way? And I'm not trying to propose that we have more and more meetings so that people can talk more and more.
Right.
But, how can you make sure that everyone on the team feels seen, like it matters to them that they are a human in this organization and that you see them and you're available to them and you can have conversation with them? I think it makes a huge difference.
No, it's huge. And I'm glad you did say that because, when I was working in offices, I always thought that meetings could tend to be a waste of time.
Yes, agreed, 100%.
People are just abusing this time, and now I'm sitting here thinking, when is it going to be over with? Let's get this done, please. Right. But if you're doing all the other stuff, then you have people who are working together and working collaboratively, perhaps, on projects, not in meetings, but engaged in a meaningful way. It goes a long way to making people feel like, wait, I'm not alone here. I've got this colleague and that colleague, and and I'm surrounded by people who are engaged in the same work I am.
Yeah, well said. Well said. And, this podcast, I know we usually talk about more business related marketing and business development, but ultimately it's about fulfillment. And how do you fill your own cup? How do you feel good and whole and able to do your best work, live your best life? And we know that requires connection. It's been proven since the beginning of time. You want to be accepted in the group so that you're safe. And now with technology and so many different ways that we can disengage with people, it's become something we have to be very intentional about. So I hope people listening, like if you're a firm leader, especially, and you're feeling kind of alone, like I hope you're not alone in feeling alone, right?
Bingo.
We've all been there, right? And it's not a weakness. It's like we said, it's lonely at the top, reality of the role, but it doesn't have to stay that way. And if you can take one small step, and I think it's about reaching out to someone. I think it's about picking up the phone and calling someone and saying, can we meet up for coffee? Not because I'm trying to nurture you as a COI, not because I think you might be a good prospect, not because of that, just because you want to have a conversation with someone.
Yeah. Well, and I know this may be a little bit cliche, so forgive me, but, happy people tend to be better workers. And I'm not talking about goofy, happy party time people. I'm talking about people who come to work, they feel fulfilled, and they're connected with people. They tend to, their productivity rises, and the work they do is better.
It's very true. We could quote studies left and right on that for sure. And, I just hope people listening, if you're hearing this, you give the space to someone on your team, or ask someone on your team, especially a more junior person or someone who might be isolated. If you have someone who works remote and everyone else is in the office, call them up. How are you doing? Ask them how they're doing.
Radical thought there.
Yes. So anyway, thank you very much for this, for joining me today, Bill, on this topic.
No, it's a great one. I love being here on this one, because I'm about it almost as passionate about this topic as you are. And you were talking about calling. So let's talk about calling you. A weird, radical idea. How do people, if they want to get a hold of you, just call you?
Yes, well, you can just call me. You can call me on my phone number, which is, I will have to even look it up, 415, I have to write it down, 415-251-5941. Again, that's 415-251-5941.
Wow.
That was just a little call back to some TV ads.
Yes, I know. I felt it.
Yes, but also feel free to send me an email, Kristin at Full Advisor Coaching, or book time to talk to me. We can turn off the cameras. Happy to pick up the phone and just call you. I used to do all my consults as phone calls, and then when I put on I added the plug-in to my Google Calendar and then automatically switched them all to Zoom, and I think I need to rethink that.
Ooh, good thought.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how to reach me. I appreciate everyone who tunes in to learn a little bit more from our conversations, and hopefully inspire you to take even small actions to take your life in the direction of more fulfillment.
Absolutely. The other thing you can do, by the way, people, it's kind of high tech, though. I mean, against the spirit of the episode, as it were, is reach out and hit that follow button. By becoming a subscriber, if you are not one already, you will not miss another episode of this wonderful podcast. You'll be notified, and you can give it a listen. So please do that. And also, on the human connection side of this, if you like the podcast, if you find it useful or interesting, tell people about it, please. Because human-to-human connections and recommendations are so much better than all of the bot recommendations I get daily on all of my email and everywhere else that I no longer even trust. I don't know how you feel about that, Kristin, but like what's going on?
It's true. I stepped away from my retreat with, if you recommended a book, a podcast, or a television show, I was writing it down because someone else was able to specifically tell me their experience with that particular medium, and I could take their recommendation and say, yes, I see you, I'm hearing you, I like you, I will look at this. So I think it makes all the difference in the world.
And so on that note, we'll end this podcast. But before we'll go, I want to remind you that you can go out today and make today a great day or not. You do have a choice, and the choice is yours. Until next time.
Thank you for tuning in to Full Advisor Coaching, the podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the follow button so you'll never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can become a part of the Full Advisor community, visit fulladvisorcoaching.com. Remember, stay connected and get notified as soon as brand new episodes release. Click the follow button now. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Kristin Harrod or Full Advisor Coaching.